sincerely, I do believe this, that everybody will show up in 2026 at the same time, right? The people that were not successful in 2024, they skipped 2025 because they were thinking, okay, we're going to do it in 2025. Then they saw, the shifts and all of that, uncertainty. Then they said, don't worry about it. It has to bounce back. It just has to. Well, it doesn't have to. Why does it have to? All right, folks. So last video for December 2025. Well, Happy New Year to everyone. So please be considerate with consumptions. Don't drive. Be safe. Have fun. Well, the plan for this actual video is to kind of review what we have done. And I have picked few videos randomly from January, February, and March, basically the first quarter. I'll give you snippets of that just to kind of prove or show that we were right on track by saying what we were saying in the beginning of 2025. And then we will get into 2026. What I believe might happen. I have some stories that I just spoke to a few people and what they feel, like what everybody kind of feels deep down in their hearts. So let's get right into these short clips. What is going on with real estate prices? I mean, look, the interest rates have been coming down for a while now, and we have seen two jumbo cuts of 0.5% in a short period of time, which is an indicator that the economy is not doing as well. So that's one of the indicators. And we have seen that the home prices did not magically increase. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. What needs to happen in order for us to see the Toronto real estate condo market actually see some fire gains or spikes in the market? Let me tell you, it takes a lot. And if you are counting on the fact that the 2025 will deliver, and if you're banking that the 2025 will bring a magical solution, my friend, I think you're in for a huge surprise. All right, so 63.8% of average disposable income goes to a household. That's not even the biggest problem, even though that was huge. We'll get into that. Let's get into the tariffs between Canada and the United States. What will this do to real estate overall? And that's not even the worst of it. So there's definitely more to come. There's definitely a recession coming. Let's just talk about the short clip that I would like to share, and then we'll get into the video. All right. Same. Okay, hold on. Stop scrolling. Real estate bull trap market. I know that this person saying it to me through this lens is right, but I'm gonna deny it. And this is a classical textbook example. You can see it right there. I will share it on a big screen. You'll be able to see it clearly. I just have this note so we can kind of go through it. But having said that, why is that happening? And then I asked them in 2022, so there was maybe summertime or fall or whatever. So I asked them, I'm like, okay, fine. So what plan do you have if the market does a bounce back? What are you going to do? Well, it has to bounce back. That was the answer. It has to bounce back. Why does it have to? All right, so in 2021 and 2022, most homeowners had the biggest chance of their lifetime to cash it big and to make some money in real estate. Isn't that the whole point of real estate? Well, not really, but to some of the speculators, to some of people playing the market, that is the biggest win, biggest jackpot. Let me make my profits and let me go. If you have seen some of these videos, give a like, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, you can always go back to the channel and you can see it. But basically the whole point of this exercise, it's just to prove that we obviously grew from 1,000 subscribers nearly to 6,000 subscribers, and I sincerely want to thank you. Like, I know some of you guys, like, you know, commenting on every single video. I see you, I hear you. I reply as much as I can to all of my comments and videos. You guys have been extremely respectful. What can we feel for 2026? And I think whatever I can see right now, it's kind of weird, to be honest with you, because we're still singing two different tunes at the same time, and some people want to listen to this type of tune and the other people want to listen to this type of tune. I really believe that 2026 will be more challenging than 2025, right? And why do I say that? Well, simple, because like I would say the middle class, like I always kind of refer to the middle class, and the middle class, this is where I try to find the real pulse. And as I'm going through the videos right here, I will post thumbnails throughout the whole year. And if you have seen some of these videos, you know, you can comment, like you can comment along the video and just comment what kind of caught you, or which video was actually good or opened your eyes or you gained something valuable from it. But the whole I would say strategy for me, it's the middle class. And when I find that pulse, right? And how do I find the pulse? Is asking and listening, right? You know, God gave us one mouth and two ears, so we should listen. And when I start that conversation, most of the time for the middle class is kind of weird, you know, like, why are you asking me these questions? Or they're not giving a sincere answer because they're afraid, that they're fearful, they want to forget. And now we're heading into times where people want to forget the topic of real estate. You know, that itch that's kind of right there, but you don't want to itch it, right? Because you cannot reach it, but it's still there and it bothers you. So sometimes people get that courage to kind of reach that scratch, and they do, and they scratch it and they click on maybe my video or my thumbnail or many other colleagues on the platform that are doing a phenomenal job, right? So it's just an itch and nobody wants to kind of talk about it anymore, right? Like, and we don't forget, you know, only a few years ago we had, like, you know, tremendous buzz. You know, real estate was number one topic to talk about, right? So now it's kind of like, why are you asking, you know? And I, you know, sometimes I say, well, oh, I'm just wondering. If you don't want to share, that's fine, right? And then maybe I share something of my own and personal experience, and then they open up, and you know, and it's crazy. And today it happened. Like, I was in a property, and that particular person that was patching a wall. He was from Vietnam, and he was patching the wall and putting, how you call that, the mud, um, sanding and the mud, like mudding, like, or whatever, you taping. That's the word, taping. So he was putting the drywall, he was taping and stuff like that. I walked up to him, I said, "Hey, how are you?" And he looked at me and he's, I'm good, I'm good. I said, "No, it's fine," right? Like, cause he saw me in a suit and a tie and whatnot. Like, so I started talking to him, how's it going and whatnot. And he's like, "I'm good," right? Like, so, barely spoke English, right? And when I started talking to him more, all of a sudden he started speaking perfect English, right? Like, he was in Canada for 30 years. He sat down on a bin. I sat beside him and I said, "How's it going?" And he said, like, "Listen, uh, like, every single month I have to pay $1,000 more on my mortgage because apparently the threshold of his interest got above the actual, rate and all of that stuff. So it triggered it. So he has to top it off every month or every 3 months or something like that." I said, "Okay." So I'm like, "So how's work?" He's like, "Look, this, like, work substantially went down, like catastrophically went down." He's like, "I don't know if it's just the period, the time that we're in. Like, we had in Ontario or Toronto, here in GTA, we had a lot of rain, we had a lot of snow, a lot of damaged roofs, a lot of leaks and stuff like that." But he said people are not repairing, right? Which brings us to the second part, right, of the conversation. People have no money, right? Right. So people are buying maybe expensive gifts, or they're fooling themselves. However, they're not maybe repairing their broken or wet wall, right? However, that's what we're kind of going through. And even he told me something. He's like, "I don't know how long I can hold on. I might have to go back to Vietnam." And I said, "Okay, so why is that?" He's like, "I can live in Vietnam for $10 a day." Okay, so we did the math, like 4 or 5 thousand dollars a year, this and that. I don't know his situation. I don't know if he's going, but it just goes to show you that people are kind of breathing heavy, extremely heavy, right? Then I had another conversation a few days ago, and this is King City. King City, if you don't know, it's north of Toronto, extremely, I would say, exclusive, expensive. It can get into millions, 4, 5, 10, 20 millions. They have amazing properties, right? And the whole um, idea about that is exclusivity, right? So exclusivity most of the times keeps the price, right? Keeps the mindset, keeps the price, keeps a strong heart and a big wallet, correct? Well, now we're getting into the season where some of these other areas, smaller areas, not as vibrant, cracked long time ago. No question about that. But now the bigger areas are cracking, like King City. And when that particular owner, she was stuck somewhere in between 4.6 to 4.8 million dollars. And I'm talking to that agent. And I said, "So did you get the listing?" And he said, "No, I didn't." So why not? Like, it's 4.6, 4.8 million, you know? And he laughed at me and he said, "Yes, 4.6, 4.8, what she told me. But the actual truth is that we should kind of take a $3.8 million into consideration and end up somewhere in maybe mid threes, maybe 3.4, 3.5, right?" So I said, "Well, why didn't you take it?" And he said, like, "Look, two things are going to happen. I'll take the listing, I'll ruin my reputation, I'll do all the marketing unsuccessfully because it's not going to happen. I will have a client breathe down my neck for months without any success. and it's not good for anybody, right? So she'll probably list with someone else, and that someone else will probably list for that desired price of 2022 and on whatever, right? So that's what will happen. So now brings me to 2026, that I mentioned in many of my previous videos, that we have a pile up, folks. Hello, pile up, which means inventory. What does that mean? Every time, it's basic economics, whether it's you're selling shoes, you're selling candies, you're selling homes, whatever you're selling, right? If there are no buyers, right, your stock is full, right? What are you going to do? It's price reductions. It's very simple, simple economics. So in this case, it's even worse because that inventory has leverage, right? Because somebody has to pay. It's not the inventory that's sitting on the shelf just waiting and waiting for a better day, right? However, if you do the math, right, like for some of these pre-con masters that bought multiple units and from one to another, and they're shuffling empty buckets, right? Basically what's happening is they're paying out of their pocket. That's the truth. Whether they want to reveal it on a beautiful dinner table or not, it's their problem. But I'm telling you right now, they're paying out of their pocket. If they bought in the peak or close to the peak, they're underwater, guaranteed. I even did a video, like, people that bought the Ford condo, like a study, a live true study. Person that bought in 2000, I can remember right now, like 2015, then they bought 17, 20, and 22. Like I have, and I did the graphs, I did the percentages. The Ford condo is not only sinking the third, second, and first, it's sinking everything that they have, because that's the power of mortgage. Like when it goes up, when you're breathing heavy, whether it's unemployment, whether you cannot make the same money again, it shifts everything, and it's not as easy as it kind of looks on a commercial. Let me put it that way. So I think the pileup of that inventory, like thousands and thousands of condos, thousands and thousands of homes, have been pulled off the market in 2025, completely off, right? They tried their luck 3 months or 2 terms, 6 months, or 1 term, whatever the case is, right? They pulled it off. They said, look, it's not for me. I can wait. I can maybe borrow some more so I can stay in the game, and no reason to panic, okay? So they did that, right? Maybe they did it in 2024, 2025, now 2026. Now, I believe, sincerely, I do believe this, that everybody will show up in 2026 at the same time, right? The people that were not successful in 2024, they skipped 2025 because they were thinking, okay, we're going to do it in 2025. Then they saw, the shifts and all of that uncertainty. Then they said, don't worry about it. It has to bounce back. It just has to. Well, it doesn't have to. Why does it have to? It does not have to bounce back. It doesn't, right? It might. Okay, let me put it this way. What if it bounces back in 30 years from today? You believe that, right? Most people will say it's impossible. Well, why not? I mean, like you have seen Japan, like Japan nosedived, right? At one point, I don't know this exactly, but in Japan, some properties had such tremendous values. They were worth more than some cities in Canada, okay, or towns, okay, like a house. That's how far they got. So they just nosedived, and it's taking them, decades and they're still not back online, right? And with that goes reputation, companies, and so many other things. And now while we're at it, what exactly do we have? All right, we have resources. I get it. We have resources. Who are we selling it to? How are we selling it to? Are we pinched by somebody or blamed that we're doing business with other countries? I don't know. But I know that the tariffs are all around the world. All right. So you see what I'm saying? It's not as easy to untangle the whole situation. And then when you start to untangle, you're still stuck with real estate. And some of these people still have to hold on to their assets or their roof or whatever, and it's costing them a lot of money. And some of the people, like the gentleman from Vietnam, is paying through his nose, right? Now, whether that was a good decision, bad decision, FOMO, maybe he bought in the wrong time, whatever, but that's just the reality, right? He cannot hold on anymore. So when everybody shows up in 2026, condo market is finished, right? We have the biggest, transfer of pre-con units in 2026. We have one of the biggest renewals in Canada for mortgages in 2026, around 2 million, right? So we will have 2024 people, 2025 people show up back to the dance in 2026 because boom, in June will be, no, it's not going to happen, right? All it will happen, the boom of inventory will skyrocket. Now, on the other side of the equation, all of that is fine if you have buyers, if you have people that are ready to buy a product, right? And even if some people are ready or near ready or thinking about it, right? Like a warm person, it's uncertainty. Why am I going to buy if, and then the questions start, if the prices are declining, if I can rent the same house for 3 times lower than I can actually buy it and own it. I have many examples of that, right? Like you can rent a $5,000 home right here, literally 2 streets over, $5,000 a month, or you can purchase the same property at like $2 million or near $2 million. So if you do the math, that home a month will cost you 15 grand, or you rent it for 5. And plus you keep your down payment in your pocket. So like how can you actually convince me or convince a buyer today, hey, this is a good decision, don't worry about it? So who's going to buy? I don't know. Maybe up buyers? I don't think so, right? So who will sell? Well, we forgot about those people that are ready to exit, right? People that bought in the 80s, people that bought in the 90s, early 2000s, they will show up because retirement is around the corner. And they will say like this, look, I need to exit and I need my money. I had enough. I don't want to work anymore. I can't work anymore. Too much uncertainty. I have to fight for jobs. It's not paying much. Yada, 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 yada. I'm getting too old. I'm getting too young. Whatever, right? Like I just want out. I don't like the cold anymore, all right? So they will show up, right? And they will maybe keep their price for a while, but they will start reducing because they went out, right? They have a lot of equity. They bought it for 200-300. They're going to sell it for 800-900. Get me out. That will affect you 100%. And that will create another ripple effect. And then those people that bought these pre-cons, not with cash, they borrowed against their homes, right? Detaches and townhomes and semis and land and I don't know, whatever, right? Then they will show up and they'll say, I cannot afford it. And then those people that had a call from CRA that said, hey, look, you need to pay us tax. It's going to happen because there's so many people that, didn't pay taxes. So they'll get that call. So they'll have to figure that out. And then there are those people from the bank, they'll get a call and say, hey, look, can you kind of verify your income? Because we kind of have to renew like your mortgage and stuff like that, even though you haven't missed a payment or haven't done anything like that, or everything's fine. But they are allowed to ask documentation. It's a simple process, right? No, like it's a simple process. Like if you want to buy something and they ask you for an ID, what? If you're clean with your ID, you're good, right? So I think everything is tightening to that extent that it it will have to burst. Whether it bursts like this or it bursts like this, doesn't matter. It'll burst, right? Now, January 1st, 2026, majority of businesses will have to come back to work, right? I'm not saying you did not work online from your computer, this and that. I get it, right? But now you have to commute, my friend. What does that mean? More traffic. Ha ha ha. Still traffic, but it's going to be more. What else does that mean? Well, you might have to travel from Woodstock or St. Catharines or Hamilton or Paris, not France, Paris here in Ontario, or London, not in UK, here in Ontario. Like you get the point, Barrie, like this, Pickering, Ajax. There's all these little towns and smaller cities and rural areas in Ontario that saw tremendous spikes, right? Now it's all gone. So majority of those people lost their down payments. Done. It's finished. They cannot sell without a loss. Guaranteed, right? So what's the solution? Well, they just have to stick it out. Okay, fine. What's another solution? Well, they can find another job closer. Well, good luck on that one, all right? Because where you live, my friend, there are no jobs, right? You're still stuck or kind of linked or connected to the city, or at least like a urban area. So then we get into cottages, right? Made a beautiful video on that. What's the problem, right? Vacation property saw huge increases, enormous, gigantic. Why? Airbnb. But they stopped that. In certain areas, when you or someone bought a cottage with a calculated idea, for example, I will buy this, I'll cut it in half, I have two properties, one property, whatever, however, right? Nice, pay top dollar for it, no worries. Why? Because Airbnb, I can do whatever I do and I'll be fine. I can quadruple my income and everybody happy, right? But some communities stopped that. They voted against that. So even buildings, did you know that many buildings in Toronto and suburban area, everywhere, they have a clause that say Airbnb not allowed. Minimum is maybe 6 months or 1 month or 1 year or whatever, right? So they had to actually create a clause on that, kind of making it easier for people that actually live in these towers. Because at one point it became a circus Soleil, my friends. Like imagine you bought a property and then every day somebody new is coming, and guess what? These people party. They rent your place, they party. God knows what they do inside. But that's the idea, right? So that's kind of gone. And then we're dealing with all the kind of immigration that's kind of on halt and paused, and they banned or stopped like the investors from around the world kind of investing in Canada. What do you mean? Who is investing in Canada now? I mean, like, it's almost it's almost a checkmate situation, right? Because can you guarantee if I buy today a $500,000 condo, which is probably a one bedroom, let's call it that, can you guarantee an increase next year in 2026? How about 2027? How about 2028? You can't. It'll probably be 450 before it reaches 520, if you know what I'm saying. How about a house? Let's say I have a budget, 5 million bucks. Can you guarantee 2026 or 2027 that it's going to be 5.8? No, right? So that's exactly what I'm saying. So I think overall the picture and the landscape of 2026 is going to be dramatically different than it's this year. It'll be similar, but it'll be different because people will start to wake up. And some people that kind of were sleeping, but they kind of heard the situation or felt their pockets being emptied. Now they're kind of waking up and they're like, okay, like now it's getting serious because I have nowhere else to fall to because that's gone. Banks are tightening, as mentioned. Parents are tightening. Remember 2020, 2021, and 2022. You have no idea. I have no idea either. But there's a huge percentile of parents that funded these pre-con condos, gave down payments, helped their kids, which nothing wrong with that. What are we going to do about that? What will you do if a parent helped their kid in the transaction just lost their down payment because the prices when they nosedived, okay? So now that parent has to retire. They have no more ammunition. It's not like that everybody will have a awesome pension, in Canada and that we can survive. Like even if you have everything paid off, the pension is not enough. Imagine if you have a cell phone bill, you're drowning. Like, I'm making it obviously sarcastic, but it just feels like it. I'm not saying that, I'm not close to that, but the people that I'm talking to, that's exactly what they're telling me. And some of the people are already searching for the next country. It's sad, right? Some people have their backup motherland country and they will leave. Maybe they don't want to leave, but they don't have a choice, right? How can you live if you have nothing, right? And even though you did everything right, some people work for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and they're still in that, they're still scratching their heads, working 60 hours a week. They're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to do something, but they cannot. So I just hope that in 2026, some people will find a way how to make it easy on themselves and to kind of go through the 2026. Yes, definitely. I mean, it will be a lot of negative news. We still have to stay strong. And when I say be positive, like be positive on making decisions, right? Negative will, if it happens, it happens. But don't be sad if you make a decision and it doesn't work out or it works out, right? Like you have to have enough consciousness. And it goes for the people that bought in 2020, 2021, 2022. Look, they're being dramatic and heavy and negative on themselves. Fine. You did the best thinking, or you got caught in the FOMO or whatever. Fine. Stop. Start figuring how to get out of it. Stop sitting in the mud thinking somebody else will come and help you. Nobody is coming. Nobody is coming. So wake up, help yourself, right? And I hope, You have a blessed 2026, and I'll see you first thing in January.